Muslims can be reformed. Like just like the way that Iran, many of the people like who used to live there during the 60s and the 70s who don't wear a hijab, these poor people were Muslims. They were not atheists, but yet they have a version of Islam that they can allow women to wear short skirts. They can.
They call it
yes,
soft
I do
Islam.
support that.
Still
I do support
millions
that,
of other people that don't agree with them.
But no. Dude, I think where you go wrong in that is it's absolutely true, but it's not because Islam was reformed.
No, that's why I say reforming Muslims.
They reformed their own
I think that reforming Muslims is possible.
Yeah.
As for reforming Islam as a religion, I'm agnostic about that. I don't know if Islam.
It's not up to us. It's up to Muslims, right?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, it's up to Muslims, and I think, Hamid Abdul Samad, who I met with, who's one of the I think you probably know him. He's a political scientist, Box of Islam, one of my favorite shows, and he's writing the book. And I was talking to him. He's making the arguments that Islam itself, at its core value, cannot be reformed, and I think that it does seem to make this argument. And I'm going to be honest, this argument that Muslims can be reformed, yes. Islam, I think to me, maybe because I read the Quran in the original language, it does seem to me it's very clear about what is the regulations are and what should be done. The thing that...
But if you really believe, I have to say that you were making the point also yesterday on the Rubin report, where you said it says it's infallible, right?
هذا الكتاب لا ريب فيه. This book is infallible. Yes.
What do you think that these Muslims will follow? So if Islam is not
Muslims are more complicated than Muslims.
So if Islam is not going to be reformed, and Islam is infallible, and Islam is going to stay the way it is, but we can reform Muslims, what will these Muslims follow if they're not going to follow this book?
Interpretation of Islam.
I don't know.
That's it.
So they're gonna.
That's reforming.
They're gonna follow an interpretation of Islam. Just like Shia Islam. Just like Shia Islam, for
so
example.
therefore, you're talking about reforming Islam, then, because Shia Islam is a reformation of Sunni.
It's a sector, but it's like I think.
No, that was true Islam. There you are.
I think that like
Sunni Islam is the bid'ah.
It is bid'ah.
Like
You're bid'ah.
There are like other.
Sunnis first.
That's true.
Muhammad said Ali's
come before Ali, right?
I don't care.
Muhammad took his Ali's hand.
It's all Karbala all the time.
I think.
My point is,
but the ones who don't believe in reform, right? I also think it's very hard to imagine how they're going to reform it and when it's going to happen. But at the same time, there are like 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, right? And they're only getting a bigger group.
Allah, we fight for you every night in our bed.
Yeah, exactly. So these people, if we want them to reform, they're going to have, if they really believe in Islam, and if it's really a big important issue in their identity and in their lives, they have to reform it.
Okay.
No,
Can I say something? Please let me say.
Yeah.
Reforming, when you're talking about reforming Islam, this is not realistic, because even what Faisal was saying about
But
Muslims,
why not?
let me just, I'll finish. Talking about Muslims can be reformed, but Islam can't be reformed, well, that doesn't make any sense, because if you're not going to change the book, then why would the people change? What you can say is we can get Muslims to not follow their book properly, and to just become more...
But that's what Jews do. But that's what Jews do, right?
A little bit.
That's what Jews do, right?
And a lot of Christians.
However, the only way that that's going to change is if we take the power away from Islam. So what you were saying before, the reason why they were secular was because Islam didn't have any power. So we have to get rid of these Islamic theocracies, and we have to have secular governments, and then the people will be secular also. So that's the key. The key is secular governments. The key isn't reforming Islam.
Well, because there's...
It's not modified bullshit.
1.5 billion, they really need something to believe in. Let
them believe in it, but as long as the government restricts them, people are homophobic in America every day, but the laws of the government restrict them from being discriminated against.
But I don't believe that either, because that's where we were. That's what Faisal is talking about. We were at a point where we had not democracies in the Middle East, but we had secular values. We had more rights for women. We had more equality and stuff like that. And everything went to hell because Islam wanted power again. And then they're now in rise. What I think that reform is going to happen. I don't see it right now happening at all. Even though I think it's very positive with Ajra Numani, Zudi, and all of these people trying to reform, but yeah, don't you think that even if you have secular governments, that then Islamists are trying to
go?
So
the argument that you're making is exactly the perfect argument against reform, and that's the point that even if you have these millions of people living in secular governments and blah, 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 you're saying that Islam came back again? Well, it's the same thing with reform.
Well, Islam comes back because the people bring it back in that version.
It's the same thing with reform.
But so no, if you really believe in Allah and you want to pray 5 times a day and you want to fast and you want to go to Hajj, right? And you keep it at that, and then you have love. I mean, whenever I go to a church in Denmark, they only talk about love. If that happened and you did all of these things that are Muslim,
but the Quran is still there.
But if you really wanted to reform, if you really loved some of the values, like I don't want.
You don't think it's going to come back again? You think it will come back again under secular government, but it's not going to come back again after reform?
It's up to Muslims to reform it. And with that, reform their culture and reform their views and values and culture. Because Islam is not only Islam, Islam is also culture. Because if you really look, whenever I talk to my dad and other males, most male, even though they're not Muslim, if they don't really see the, because I'm a woman, I'm not even seen as human in Islam, right? I'm subhuman because I don't have the same rights as a man does, and if we don't change the culture as well, and the culture you have like a male dominated culture. So this goes back
to our idea of when we talk about reforming Islam, what we're saying is we want to give people modified bullshit, a less evil. It's still evil. So what we're talking about now is what you're talking about now.
I don't care. Just stop stoning people. I don't care if you're less evil.
You have no control over
that. You're jumping
but then
from different things.
Because I'm thinking about it in terms of like Judaism and what I've seen in my 50 years. So very lot of reform, very cherry picking. So we don't really believe everything. But then it's going backwards. You have these fundamentalists who are pulling the future back into the past. And so if it stays, they keep building it. And what you're saying,
like a cancer or whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, yeah, it's fine. So you want to believe and you want to have the Hanukkah and light the candles, fine.
Some people need that, right? And where their culture is right now,
I don't know if they need it, but I just think that
I think it's a very human thing.
Just teach people.
Sometimes I wish I would believe in something.
You don't give people fake bullshit and say, here, I'll give you this because you need it. You give them the truth. And then if they still need something, then they can go to yoga retreats, or they can do meditation, or they can find something else that isn't harmful, that isn't delusional, that isn't lies. Like you're advocating. Are you an atheist?
Yeah.
So you're advocating for selling lies to people.
No, I'm not advocating selling lies. I'm advocating for them to say stop stoning people.
Then that's secular government. That's a different thing.
No, I want them to have the religious belief that stoning people is just wrong. Within my religious.
Why can't you tell them stoning people is just wrong?
I'm not going to reform Islam. I don't know whether
But why do you need a reformed Islam to tell them that stoning people is wrong?
I just think that 1.6 billion people, they really need. They really not
think
all of
it.
it. I think that probably what's going to happen is 50% is going to be like me and you in the future, and 50% are, inshallah, is going to reform this religion, right?
Yeah.
Because some people need to believe in something. Even when I lose somebody that I really love, I think, oh God, what if I believe? That would be great, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe. Unfortunately for me, I don't believe. But some people need this, right, in their lives. So I don't want to say that it's impossible, because anything
I don't say it's impossible, but I'm not going to advocate for it. So like I will support Maajid, I will support Asra, I will support Shireen, I will support Zimbi Jasser, I will support all of these reformers, because we have the same common goals. We believe in the same secular values. We believe in humanism. We believe in equal rights for women and LGBT, etc., etc. So I will support them, but I will never advocate for reforming Islam.
It's not like we're forcing people not to believe. We're providing them an alternative, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we're not going there and telling you like abandon Islam, but like people come to you like, who are you to tell people not to believe in what they want to believe? We're not telling them. We're just. My response is like, who are you to deny them an option to consider that maybe all their views are fairy tale?
Yeah, I mean, the way I say it is that if someone is going to believe in religion, I would rather have a more reformed, moderate religion than have a violent one.
Exactly.
And if that's what it takes, that more Muslims speak out, the better. I mean, I would ideally, in an ideal world, I want people to support critical thinking and believe in evidence, and but some people don't.
But I think it's critical thinking reforming as well, because in Christian churches, at least in Denmark, they also always like encourage people to ask questions, at least, right? And then they have
they believe in evolution too.
Like not bullshit answers, but like religious answers for it. But at least the critical thinking is, they're open to it.
Yeah, and that is better than nothing. I mean, that's better than having the Catholic Church believing in evolution is better than having the Church not believing in evolution.
You have no control over that.
No, we do. I mean, having the Pope,
our enlightenment values to say we want you to
see when you don't advocate for critical thinking skills and tell people to demand evidence before believing in something, whatever comes after that, you do not have the steering wheels to decide where they land. It's all, you have no control over that. If somebody just believes in things that they want to believe in, or the things that the society tells them to believe in, how are you going to convince them to give up one idea for another? There is no. You have no option that you have was critical thinking skills. Wherever they land, it's all based on randomness.
So you don't think that if we have an Islam that it is?
I do think it's better. I just think you have no. I do think reformist Muslim.
No. I like you arguing like an Arab.
Because she does.
I do as well.
Okay, good. Because sometimes Armin gets upset. Like Faisal is used to me, because Arabs, they yell at each other when they're arguing politics.
No,
but it's not.
They're yelling at each other about everything.
I'm not denying that Reform Muslims are less harmful than like the other Muslims. Obviously, who could deny that? But I'm saying, how many people became Reform Muslims? How many of them are fundamentalist Muslims? You have no control over that, right? There's no argument you could make.
It's so true. It's such factual.
It is true, but it's true. But when Asra Muhammad, for instance, or Zudi and a lot of other people like them, when they say, okay, we want to reform Islam because we believe in democracy and enlightenment values, we believe in human rights, we believe in the freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and all of these things.
They're already starting wrong.
Islam, so that all of these things will be part of Islam?
Yeah.
They're already starting wrong.
Inshallah. If you really want to believe and be a Muslim and I wouldn't have any problem with that. Would you?
Yeah, of course not.
But good luck with that.
Yeah.
But good luck with that, because I think we are.
So you want everybody in the Middle East and in Muslim?
No, we're not saying. No. Well, neither that. We're not saying everybody is going to become atheists. We're saying more people are going to abandon Islam than become reformists. That's what we're saying. We're not saying 1.6
Okay, so then
billion.
you're for reform.
No, I'm saying more people are going to become ex-Muslims than become reform Muslims.
Oh,
I'm saying we're going to
50-50.
We're saying we have a higher success rate. We're not 1.6 million. People come to us and say, really, you think 1.6 billion Muslims are going to become atheists overnight? Like, my response is like, really, you think 1.6 million Muslims are going to hit your wife, and they're going to think like, oh, that doesn't really mean hit your wife? Like, we have better arguments. Neither of us are going to be 100% successful. We just have more convincing arguments on our side than the reform movement.
Well, you know what I think is interesting? A lot of the reformers come from the West. The West.
Absolutely.
No.
A lot of reformers.
We're talking about the secular,
Yes, we
like
are.
Maajid,
But there are so many secular reformers in that.
That's a different
missing-
thing. But what I'm talking about is
Yes.
that these ones that we're discussing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the West,
Those kinds of reformers
versus
don't exist.
a lot of people that I
You'll
meet
be
in the
killed.
Muslim world,
Of course
they're
you'll
not
be killed.
interested in reforming. They're like, fuck this, I'm
Yes,
done.
yes.
They go to the extreme.
Yes.
And
opposite.
even the imams, even the
or they
secular
become
imams, and
atheists, or they're tired
the
of it
secular-
all.
even the secular imams and the secular moderate imams over there, whatever you call them, they're not even. They admit that they're not reformers. They're like, this is not reform. This is the true Islam. The reformers that we are talking about are people that are saying, oh, maybe Quran is fallible. Maybe Muhammad was not the perfect. That's never gonna.
What's wrong with that?
That's never gonna fly. That's not gonna.
Maybe it's going to fly.
Well, okay, maybe it's gonna fly, but what we're saying is that we have much higher chance.
Christianity, though, that's the one interesting
That
thing.
it flies with Christianity because
you have a New
there's
Testament.
nowhere in the Bible that says that this is the word of God. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that this is like this is God.
Christian Bible.
We
Yes.
were killed because of being atheists and mortals and so on. So,
It's people look at Christianity.
They have the
People
same
look at
chance as we
Christianity.
have.
People look at Christianity and they say that look at Christianity
The truth has
and it got reformed. So Islam also give it more time. It's coming. Like really, based on
Christianity
no,
is the reformed
no,
Judaism,
but
though.
no. My point is. Let me make my point. My point is that you're going by a sample size of one. Like really, this is your scientific. Like this is like, oh, I saw one religion. This happened to it. Therefore, this is the trend in all religions. There's so many factors, and like people like, oh, give it more. Islam is 600 years behind. Like really, you want 600 more of this bullshit before we get any results?
To your point is true, though, because there were lots of religions that don't exist anymore. So maybe things do die out.
But it's okay. I don't have any problem with it dying out either. I'm just saying, if you're a Muslim, especially in the West, either reform it or just become an ex-Muslim. If you want to be a Democrat,
There is another
if you
option.
want to be,
This is the thing.
Okay.
I think reform, the whole idea of reform, the whole idea of telling somebody that Quran is fallible and Muhammad is not infallible, that will never fly. I don't believe that will ever happen. But I believe that Muslims will just be not following their faith properly.